Hey guys, welcome to the Wonder Wednesday video for this week. I'm Tara. I can't believe that it's summer tomorrow, so it's pretty crazy. We are now at the second to last day of preschool for Magnolia. So tomorrow's her last day, and I just feel like the school year flew. And thinking about my other mom friends who have kids that are older, I know every year they say that the school year flies, so I'm waiting to see if that's the case for us too. This is just our first year and it's not even full time, but oh my gosh, I feel like we were just starting school and now we're here in the summer. So anyway, welcome to the video. Today we are talking about overeating and why overeating might not be such a bad thing for you. It's something that comes up so often in conversations with my clients, with friends and family who ask about it, because it's something that we're so familiar with. Every single one of us has overeaten at one point or another, whether it's just at that Thanksgiving meal or your favorite restaurant where you're just like, oh, just one more bite because something tastes so good, or when you're trying to numb your feelings, maybe you don't even realize you're doing it, but you drown yourself in that gallon of ice cream. Or you grab a bag of chips and sit in front of the TV, and before you know it, you're down to the bottom of the bag. It happens to all of us. We all do it sometimes. And today I want to talk about why it's a good thing. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but we're going to get there. So we never do things that don't serve a purpose for us in some way or another. So a lot of times when I start working with a client, and they want to make a change, we talk about the pros and cons of that change. And you would think possibly that as a coach, I would just want to talk about the pros of them making a change, right? Like, here's why, this is good, just grab the bull by the horns and, make this change and all of that. But I don't do that. I like to talk with people also about what might be bad about making the change. What might be some things that they're going to miss when they give up X, Y, or Z, or when they introduce X, Y, or Z. What might be some bad things about that? Because if we don't address the kind of mourning of our old habits and lifestyle and that type of thing, we're never going to fully embrace the change. So it's silly to just pretend that we're not going to miss the ice cream or chips if we're giving that up, let's just say. Which, by the way, I always suggest moderation. So I never suggest that you give up your favorite foods unless it's like you're allergic to them or something. But it's very important to talk about what's working for you and why it's working right now. So why do so many of us go to overeating, at least sometimes? Maybe we do it once a year, maybe we do it every single night, or maybe you're somewhere in between like most of us. But why might we do that? So there could be so many reasons. It could be numbing some emotions that we don't want to feel. It could be procrastinating because we just don't want to get started on whatever the thing is that we want to do. It could be that we don't allow ourselves for enough breaks in our schedule. So when we, take that break at night to overeat, it's like our bodies are now rewired to think that overeating means it's our time to relax. Hey Danielle, thanks for watching. So we might, make this habit. And by the way, practice makes permanent. So that might be a little different from what you have heard. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes permanent. Good things, bad things, whatever it is. Hello. So when you do things over and over again, that's when habits are formed, and it's kind of rewiring your nervous system, and it makes it easier to keep going down that path. So if, let's say you're somebody who doesn't normally sit on the couch and eat, but now if I were to tell you every night this week, or every night for the next 2 weeks, let's just say, I want you to grab a bag of chips and sit down on the couch and watch TV. Let's say that's not your normal thing, but every night for 2 weeks now you do that. You sit down, you turn on your show, and you have your bag of chips. By the end of that 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or sometimes for people it's just a couple of days, everybody's a little different. But by the end of that time period, you have now made it that much easier and that much more of a habit that when you sit and watch TV, you're going to be craving something to eat. It might be specifically that chips, or it might be just that you want to be eating something, because you've kind of wired those connections together. You've made that a habit. So that's okay, because we can go back and make anything a habit in the future. You just have to replace one for another. So overeating is one of those things that you might see the most successful people have trouble with this. And why is that? Well, it's because you can be a very, very high functioning person when you're overeating, right? So you can eat so much food, stuff yourself, binge to the point where your stomach hurts, and then still go to work the next day and be a CEO and, kick butt in your job. Or still get up with the baby all night long and be the best mom. Best? Maybe not. Maybe you're not really feeling your best, but still be a really, really good mom, Or you can go and, paint a picture or do whatever your hobby is. Whatever it is, you can fully function when you are overeating. So it makes it like one of the best coping mechanisms out there, which is why it's something that very high-functioning, highly successful people tend to gravitate towards. You might see a lot of type A people that will struggle with this overeating because they don't want to get into the gambling or the drug use or too much alcohol use, right? Or the shopping. All of those things arguably will affect your life more than if you overeat. You could still show up and do your job. You can get in the car and drive, right? It's not like if you pound a bunch of drinks, you can't get in the car. Well, you can overeat as much as you want and you can still be cohesive and drive your car where you need to go. So, overeating, if this is kind of your vice, it's working for you. It's solving a problem. And until we can recognize that it's solving a problem and that it's serving its purpose and all of that, it's going to be hard to get away from it. It's going to be hard to kind of strong arm your way into getting away from that because it is serving a purpose. It's helping you with your emotions, or it's helping you avoid something, or it's filling a void where, maybe you're not giving yourself enough time of a break or relaxation or something. So it's very important to almost thank that habit for being present before you let it go. So Catherine's here. Hey, Catherine, thanks for joining us. So that's the thing about overeating, is that it's not bad until it's bad, right? If you overeat, let's say one time a year, let's say on Thanksgiving, is that really going to have a huge impact on your life, on your weight, on your confidence, on the way that you feel in the long run? No, it probably won't. Hey, what if you overeat twice in a year? What if it's Thanksgiving and your birthday? Is that going to really have a huge impact? Is that going to make you have all this extra weight that you're carrying around? No, it probably isn't, right? But what if you overeat every single night? What if you undereat during the day? This is something that's so common because we always want to go in these cycles of like beating ourselves up and then we can't manage it any longer, right? So many people, women in particular, I'm talking to you, we eat like rabbits all day long because you're being good, right? You're on a diet or something. You just can't keep it up. And then every night, forget about it. You raid the snack drawer, you eat your kids' food, whatever. Or you're good all week long, and by being good, I mean you're in a ridiculous calorie deficit. So you're starving, you're hangry, your energy is low, your moods are low, you're snapping at everything and everybody. And then the weekend comes, maybe it's even one meal. Maybe you go out to a restaurant and you drink and you order the nachos and you have all the bread and you order a dessert. Do you know that you can take away all of your hard work, let's just call it, from the week in one meal? And then you're wondering, why am I not losing the weight? I'm so good all the time. Well, except for this one meal, But that's the thing. We're using overeating as a crutch. We're using it because we're depriving ourselves all week long. And then we're just diving into that one meal and we feel like, well, it's just one meal. But we can do simple math here, right? So let's say you put yourself in a 500 calorie deficit Monday through Saturday, okay? So we've got 5 times 6, it's 3,000 calorie deficit. You can easily go to a restaurant, have a couple of drinks, the bread basket, an appetizer, an entree, maybe even a dessert, but you don't need to, and then make up all the 3,000 calories and then some, just from that one meal, okay? This is just one example. and you're wondering why you're not losing weight. You're using that one meal as a crutch. You're depriving yourself too much during the week. You would make much, much more progress if you allowed yourself to eat more food, nourish yourself more during the day, and really get to the bottom of why the overeating is happening when it's happening. What is it that you're looking for? I know for me, sometimes when I sit down to do that and I notice that I'm kind of eating mindlessly, it's because I really need a break. I've been up with the kids all day long. I've been working while I'm with the kids. It's kind of like a crazy hectic lifestyle, throwing loads of laundry on in between, doing the dishes in between. And then at the end of the night, it's like I know I still have more work to do, and I might just sit down and mindlessly eat because I know that I have more work to do and I have to get back into it. But really, I think what I really need is just a break. I need to allow myself 10 minutes or 15 minutes to sit down and read a book or watch a TV show that's, probably garbage, but who cares? It lets me zone out, right? Or scroll through Facebook or something. I need to allow myself that break. And I know for me, that's a big thing. For other people, it's the emotional eating. You're sad, you're depressed, you're anxious, you're angry, and you're turning to the food. So until we get to the bottom of why we're doing this, what purpose is it serving us, because it always is helping us in some way. We do not continue to do any kind of behavior that's not in some way serving us. So until you find out what it is that it's serving for you and figure it out, it's going to be very, very hard to strong arm your way into change, okay? So change is different than conforming. I can hand you a meal plan and say, follow this for a certain amount of time. Hey, I just had a bunch of resetters do my reset and they had fantastic results, right? But that's not long-term change. What I hope from that reset is that catapults them into this different mindset, and then they go on to find long-term change. So that's why I offer that type of thing. But when I take on my clients one-on-one for long-term coaching, I coach people for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months if they're really ready for the change. And I don't give meal plans for that, because what would happen when we're done with the coaching? What would you do then? Would you go back and just follow my meal plans forever? What about if you go to a restaurant or a party? You need to be able to do this stuff on your own. So sure, we discuss meals and balancing meals, and we talk about recipes and all that stuff. That's part of the coaching. And I can help you come up with meal plans. But I don't give you meal plans because I want you to be able to do that by yourself. The whole idea is that if you do coaching with me, it's the last thing that you need. I do personal training right along with the nutrition coaching, right along with the lifestyle coaching. It's a complete package because I never ever want you to have to throw money down for anything again. No more diet, weight loss books, nothing. So we kind of work on it all together. And all of this to say that we address that type of overeating, but first we have to realize that it's filling some sort of a void. And that's what we're talking about today, the overeating. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a matter of how frequently it's happening, right? Because if we can all agree, and if you throw up some emojis, if you can, because I'm just talking to my screen here, and I just want to know if this is resonating with you. If we could all agree that overeating itself isn't the problem, right? Because if we do it once a year, it wouldn't really be a big deal. It's the frequency that we're doing it. Is it a habit of overeating? Is it every night, every week, something like that? Is it leading us to something that we don't want, such as excess weight or chronic health conditions? If it's leading to something like that, then yeah, it could be problematic for us. So then we have to get to the bottom of it. You got to recognize that it's serving a purpose. You have to swap it out for some other healthier habits. And then when that goal feels so lofty, like how the heck can I manage that? You have to break it down until you have bite-sized pieces that you can address one at a time. Okay? There's research out there, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's something like if you want to change one habit at a time, you'll be, let's say, 85% successful at it. Once you try to change 2 habits at a time, it drops down to like 45% successful. And once you try to change 3 habits or more at a time, it's like 14% successful. It's very, very hard to change more than one thing at a time. We really need to rewire up our whole nervous system with our brains, and we have to do it little by little, okay? So overeating is not such a bad thing when you compare it to other vices that you can have. It's serving you well. Out of all the vices that you can have, if you're an overeater, you've picked one that's allowed you to become the most successful that you can with all of this stuff. All we need to do now is maybe decrease the frequency with which you do that. Okay, so if you overeat every single night, maybe you can bring it down to once a week. And then maybe from there you can bring it down to once a month or just some special occasions. And by the way, what I mean by overeating, I'm not talking about portion sizes necessarily. I'm talking about what it feels like to you. So we all know, I think, like that Thanksgiving dinner is about 120% full, right? Like we're overstuffed and it hurts. And maybe when we go to a restaurant and we eat our favorite meal, but we eat too much, that might be like 100% full. Like we are stuffed. There is not any more room in there, right? It kind of feels uncomfortable. You're kind of a little sluggish and tired afterwards. What can you work on now? Let's say 80% full. There's actually a saying, the Okinawas in Japan, which is an area that they've got all of these centenarians, these people that have, longevity is just surrounding them. A lot of them live to 100. They have no chronic diseases. It's amazing. And one of the sayings that they have in Japanese, I don't know the Japanese for it, but it basically, in passing, as they pass each other, it translates over to, may you be 80% full. It's just a practice of theirs. It's not something that they're doing for their health. It's not something they're doing for their weight loss, but they just believe that to leave a little bit, to leave the table when you're still got that little bit of room, it's good for us. We can get up and go for a comfortable walk afterwards. We don't feel like you need to roll us around, and it just feels good. I know it feels good for me when I do that. It's hard to do. It's one of the reasons also that when I start coaching with people, we work on habits like that. We work on a couple of these kind of mindset and habitual ways of eating before we dive into exactly what to eat. Because it's more important to set up your surroundings with a nice solid foundation of how to eat, like to try to eat more mindfully, a little bit more slowly, eat to 80% full before we start going into like, well, how much protein should I have? And what about the carbs and all of that, right? So that's it. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit today. I have no notes and I was just kind of going off the cuff, but it's an important thing and it's something that's come up a few times already this week. Overeating is not necessarily as bad as you think. It might be a pretty awesome coping strategy for you. Could there be better coping strategies? Absolutely. So let's first look, how often are you doing the overeating? Is it leading you to something that you don't want? Excess weight, excess fat, excess fatigue, moods that go up and down, or maybe you just feel like you don't have enough room for the healthy foods because you're filling up on the junk. If that's the case, all right, then it could be time for a change, right? How can we do a little bit better this week than we did last week? If you binged every single night last week, and this week you pick one night that you don't binge, well, you've already made a difference. You're already going in the right direction. So it's just about making those small little steps, things that you can take in your control. You can't control, I want to lose 20 pounds by this date and that's it. You can't control that. But you can say, I'm going to eat this, or I'm going to work out for this many minutes a day. Those are behaviors that you actually can control. You can take that and you can run with it. No pun intended. And then you will find that you're getting yourself closer to the results you want. Anyway, that's how it works. But you can't control exactly how many pounds you lose and by what date, right? But you can just dial things up or dial things down based on that. I hope this was helpful, at least a little bit to you guys. I hope you're having a great day, and happy end of the school year to all the kiddos. I know in other areas of the country you guys were out of school already, maybe for a week or two, but here in New York, this is our last week. So hope you guys all have a great rest of your school days, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.